What's up, guys? It's Meg, and welcome back to Meg After Dark. Today we're taking a look dead ahead to see what's coming on tomorrow's all-new episode of The Walking Dead. We're talking about our thoughts and predictions for Season 7, Episode 5, called Go-Getters. We are finally back at the Hilltop, and I could not be more excited. I'm so excited to see Jesus, and even a little excited to see Gregory, more so to see Maggie and Sasha, and really just see what's happening up there now that they have discovered that Rick did not succeed in taking out the Saviors. Now, it looks like this episode is going to start out with either Sasha and Maggie making it back to the Hilltop, or I think that it's going to show them they're already there. I kind of wanted to see them trying to get there, but it looks like that's not going to happen. It'll probably be the next morning or later that day after Maggie and Sasha have arrived. We see Maggie here. She is obviously very out of sorts right now. She's incredibly sad. She's probably not going to be doing too much in this episode, although maybe by the end of the episode we'll see her get back up and talk about how they need to get revenge or something. But at this point, we're probably not going to see very much of her. Now we see Gregory, and I think he's likely talking to Jesus here in this part of the promo. He says, Maggie said her people could take care of the Saviors. So far, all they've done is put us at risk, or put our community at risk. Gregory is obviously very upset that this happened, that he gave the Alexandrians, he gave Rick and Maggie a huge portion of their food, most likely the portion that they were supposed to give the Saviors, only to find out that they did not take care of the Saviors. And in actuality, the Saviors likely know that the Hilltop was involved with Rick. Now we see the Saviors arrive at the Hilltop. They don't just bring one truck, and in this part of the promo, it does appear that they are only bringing one truck, but later we see that Simon, I think his name's Simon, right? Negan's right-hand man here, brings so many Saviors, probably far more than is actually necessary to come and pick up your weekly or bi-weekly portion of food, right? So they're obviously trying to intimidate Gregory, intimidate the Hilltop, and let them know that they are not to be messed with here. Now, we see Simon come into where Gregory lives, Gregory's home, and he says, we need to talk, and he's very aggressive, and Gregory is... he's always, the impression that you get from him is that he's a weak man. He kind of has always just given in to the Saviors, probably allowing Rick to try and fight the Saviors on the Hilltop's behalf was probably one of the biggest moves Gregory has ever made as a leader here at the Hilltop. And now it's coming back to bite him in the ass. So we see him meet with Simon. We don't know what they're talking about, but it's likely that Simon is saying something along the lines of, you know, we know you were involved. Now you're going to have to pay more. You know, I don't even know. I'm assuming that they're going to be demanding far more goods than the Hilltop is going to be able to provide here. And we also see that he just brought a ton of men. We also see that he brings with him, as they're pulling away, which I'll show you here, as the Saviors are leaving the Hilltop, we see that they brought like 4 or 5 trucks with them. So, you know, it's safe to say that they're trying to put on a show here to say, you know, look how many people we have. You're easily outnumbered. You're going to provide for us, or else. We also see Sasha and Jesus. They see the Saviors arrive at the Hilltop. They're talking. We don't know what they're talking about, but I can't see either of these two characters not wanting to fight back against the Saviors after everything that's happened. Jesus has seemed that way kind of in the beginning. He's the one who brought the Alexandrians to the Hilltop. He was looking for other people. And we have Sasha here, who obviously just lost Abe in a most horrific way, and she is going to want to get back at the Saviors as well and take them out. She's not going to stand for this. Later in this episode, it looks like we will see the Hilltop attacked or something going on there, but I'm going to wait to talk about that until we hit that portion of the promo. I want to move on to talking about Enid and Carl. There was a separate sneak peek, which we'll talk about as well in a little bit, but it does appear that Enid is on her way to the Hilltop to meet Maggie. She wants to see Maggie. She needs to talk to her. And like I said before in my review of episode 4, Enid was getting very close to Glenn, and then very close to Maggie as well. And I just could not see her staying at Alexandria, knowing that Glenn was dead and that Maggie was up at the Hilltop. So it does appear that Enid is going to go to the Hilltop, and she's going to go alone, which right now is a very dangerous thing to do. Carl catches her trying to leave And they have an interesting conversation, which we'll talk about as well in that promo. But Carl is basically saying, like, I'm not going to save you anymore. We see Enid climb the fence, and that's that. We move on to seeing Sasha, and I love this picture. She's really amazing in this picture. She is smoking a cigar in honor of Abe, and she's sharpening her knife. And this is, again, why I don't believe she's going to sit back and just allow the Saviors to keep taking all of their things. We see a car running into a walker, and I firmly believe that in this car is Carl. I think that even though he says he's not going to save Enid anymore, I do think he's going to go after her, and she may get herself in a predicament and need his help, or he may just think, no, I'm not going to let her go alone, and takes a car and goes. Now, I'm kind of under the impression he doesn't exactly know how to drive, so I'm pretty sure this is him in the car. It just really looks like the sheriff's hat that he's been wearing. Then we move on to back at the hilltop. It is nighttime now, and Sasha has her knife. She's on top of these trailers, and something is going down. We then see Jesus. It's dark. It looks like there's maybe like a fire in front of him, and he looks kind of shocked. If you remember back in the Comic-Con trailer, we do see that a bunch of walkers have come into the hilltop at night. Now, it also appears that perhaps, a group of walkers isn't just going to breach the hilltop fence. They have guards on top of the fence. They're easily taken care of, but it looks like something happens that they do get inside. And I'm kind of under the impression that the Saviors have probably come back and kind of attacked just enough to let a bunch of walkers in. Perhaps even they led some of the walkers there. And we see Jesus in the Comic-Con trailer, which I'm not going to insert here, but we see him fighting off a bunch of walkers. So it does look like, I don't think this is a coincidence. I don't think, after the Saviors leave later that night, it just so happens that someone accidentally left the gate open or something and the walkers came in. I really think that the Saviors have something to do with it, and it is to get back at the hilltop for what they did. Now, in the second promo here called The Next Deal, we have Carl and Michonne talking in the kitchen. Carl asks Michonne, why didn't you go with my dad? So this leads us to believe that Rick has probably taken some people and gone out on a run, probably because Negan said, find me something interesting. Not just find me another half of your supplies, not just find me food, find me something interesting, find me something good. So now Rick has to go because he wants to be, right now, his mindset is, I have to do what Negan says so that we can have some semblance of a normal life here. So he's not looking to fight back with Negan yet, at least in this episode. So it looks like he's probably gone out on some kind of run, taken some people with him to go and find supplies, to find something interesting. And Carl says to Michonne, and Michonne and Rick have been pretty inseparable for a while now. So this shows you that Michonne is definitely not on board, especially after the mattresses. She's definitely not on board with Rick's plan to just kind of go with it and do what Negan says. And, Carl obviously is not either. So Michonne says, I have to figure some things out. And that's her reply to him. And he says, what's to figure out? She says, how we can do this if we can. And I think, in this part, she's obviously meaning how we can keep doing this with Negan, how we can keep finding things, if it's even possible, to live like this. And Carl says, we can't, not like this. So he's agreeing, my dad's wrong, and he's not straight out saying this, but that is what he's thinking. We can't live like this. We have to fight back. Just like when he was in, and they were taking all the medicine, he was willing to fight back because he did not feel like it was right. And he wasn't willing to just kind of sit back and let the Saviors do that. And Michonne replies to him, your dad thinks differently. And I love this part because Carl says he's wrong, you know it. And Michonne, I love Michonne so much. And she says, even if I think he is, I don't know. And that is so true. You never know what the outcome of any of your actions is going to be. And I love that we also see this in The Walking Dead, in my favorite television show. When you're faced with two choices, how do you ever know what the right choice is to make? And the answer is you don't. And so while Carl and Michonne may disagree with Rick, and Rick's method of just kind of going with Negan, and we've got to do what we have to do to survive and to live a normal life here so I can protect Judith, I can protect Carl, I don't want anyone else to die. He feels like he is doing the right thing at this point. He doesn't feel like he has the means to fight the Saviors. But Carl and Michonne, they don't know that he's wrong, but they might think it, They don't necessarily disagree with it, but they don't know for sure. And I love that moment when Michonne just says, even if I think he is, I don't know. And that is so true. They just don't know what's going to happen at this point. It was a very short promo. The very last promo is this final sneak peek. It is of Enid and Carl, and Enid is leaving. We already saw this scene in the first promo, but Enid tells Carl that she needs to see Maggie. And they kind of have this interesting conversation where, he doesn't want her to go out alone. It's not safe. And she says, she says, I have better aim than you. And you can see that he's kind of hurt by this comment a little bit. And, because of his eye. And she obviously didn't mean it like that. She feels bad. And he says, I'm not saving you anymore. And they talk about her being locked in the armory. We never did get to see her get out of there. But if you remember, she wanted to go with Maggie. And Carl locked her in the closet. And she was stuck there for a while. And she didn't get to go. And she says, well, you came back. And he says, that's not what I meant. And, Glenn died. Abe died. Enid was very close with Glenn, and she says, I'm sorry you had to see that, and he says, I'm not. And that's really powerful, too, for me at least, because he's saying, I'm not sorry I had to see it because I think he's saying because it's made him stronger, because now it's given him the will to fight back against Negan and against the Saviors, and he's not willing to let that happen again to anyone else. That's just my take on it. You guys tell me what you think about that as well. I was also thinking perhaps Carl and Enid get captured by the Saviors on their way to the Hilltop. Maybe they don't make it to the Hilltop, or maybe Enid makes it, but Carl doesn't. Maybe he's going after Enid, but instead of actually finding her, he gets caught up by the Saviors. That would then lead us to seeing Carl with Negan, which I know the comic readers really want to see that happen. So I'm kind of hoping something like that happens. I would hate to see Enid put in a situation where she needs to be rescued. She's so strong at this point that I would not want to see her need Carl's help at all. She's strong. She can take care of herself. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe that'll happen. Maybe she will make it to the Hilltop, and instead, Carl, on his way to find her, will get caught up by the Saviors. I just feel like that would be really interesting. And I really want to see that. It could still happen even if it doesn't happen in this episode, but I'm kind of crossing my fingers. So that is it for this breakdown video of my predictions for Season 7, Episode 5 of The Walking Dead. It airs tomorrow, so I am very excited. I hope that you guys will watch my reaction video tomorrow. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And thank you for all of the Q&A questions that you guys left me on my last video. I'm so excited to do a Q&A. That should be coming up very shortly. All right, you guys, have a great day.